Hey, welcome to the Table Talk Podcast. It's Thursday. Actually, for us, it's Thursday because we're just recording a little late this week. That's okay. So I hope you guys have had a great week. It's been warm. It's been nice. David, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back in human weather.
Yep.
Nice spring weather. I'm excited for the summer. I'm excited about I love spring. Like I think we talked about this last week. It's like it's a great time for me to just be like things are coming alive and whether that other people are suffering with allergies is not as much of a concern of mine.
You don't care about people.
I do. I just love this time of year, and just it feels good to go outside and feel the sun hit your face, and to be able to go for walks. Brittany and I have been like walking and praying, and it's like, it feels good to be back outside.
Yep. Getting up in the morning and early and going for a walk, and it's just and then it's good. It's a good way to start the day. It's a good reminder of God's newness every morning, and big fan of springtime.
Yep, me too. We're in the middle of this series on Mark, and we're making our way through the book of Mark. And this week you talked about the story we find with Peter.
Yeah.
And Peter making one of the most important confessions in the entire Bible, which is, Jesus, you are Lord.
Yeah. I mean, it's this story in Mark 8 is really the hinge point of the narrative, because it's the moment where, up until this point, everyone's asking questions. The people, the disciples, the religious leaders, all saying, "Who is this guy? Who is Jesus? Who does he think he is that he can heal? Who does he think he is that he can forgive sins? How does he get this power? Isn't this Mary and Joseph's son?" And you get this moment in Mark 8 where there's all this conversation, and Jesus finally asks the guys, "Who do the people say I am?" And they tell him, "Hey, we think or that the people are saying you're John the Baptist resurrected, or you're a prophet brought back from the dead, or whatever." And he said, "What do you guys think?" And that's where Peter answers, you're the Messiah." And that confession is the core confession that we make 2,000 years later, that we believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. And so this is in the story of Jesus and in the Gospel of Mark, like the turning point of, all right, now they see it. That we'll get into, they don't see it all the way correctly, but Peter can at least recognize, you're the Messiah, you're the one, you're who we've waited for, and that changes everything.
Yeah. And just for a point of clarity, the word, because we say Messiah, Peter's confession, he says Christ. Could you give a little bit of, like, what does that mean?
Yeah. The Hebrew word you often see is Messiah. That's translated into Greek as Christ, or Christos, and English is Christ. And what that is it's a title that was the title of a coming king that was prophesied about long ago in the Hebrew Scriptures. So the Messiah is first referenced in Genesis 3, where God makes this statement to the serpent that someone will come and crush your head, essentially. There are other echoes of the messianic promise throughout the Old Testament. The main one that we think about is in 2 Samuel chapter 7, where God tells King David, "Hey, someone will come and he will sit on your throne forever." And it's this idea that God is sending a king who will rule and reign over God's people, and as Isaiah and the other prophets flesh out, over the whole earth. And this coming king is called the Messiah. He's promised, he's prophesied about. He is the one in which all of Israel has put their hope, essentially. And what is amazing about Jesus is he comes in, he is the Messiah. Peter recognizes that and says, "You are the one we've waited for. You are the one who is going to bring God's kingdom." But Jesus is not just the type of Messiah that Peter thought he would be. Jesus is the Messiah who is for the whole earth. And even the way he gets victory is different than what Peter and many at the time expected. So there's a lot with that term. I'm glad you made us stop and talk about it, because sometimes we just get this idea that, like, Messiah, is that just like a nickname? Is Christ Jesus' last name? Like, what is that? It's like, no, this is a title of authority and royalty and ultimately divinity.
Yes, you talked about in Genesis. It's talked about with Abraham, promises made with Abraham. It's talked about in Isaiah 53. It's talked about in Psalms 22. It's throughout the whole Old Testament is just this pointing to this huge figure that's going to come, and the way I see this, we're waiting for Jesus to come back too, and we have all these ideas of how it's going to happen, and we have expectations. Some people, premillennial, postmillennial, amillennial, or whatever. There's all these different. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like when Christ comes back, and that's how I feel like it was with them. Is they had these little hints of, man, what is this going to look like? But not until he came could they look back and go, oh, I see it. I see what this is supposed to be. And so this confession by Peter is a ginormous confession.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's huge, and it should change. And I think this was kind of your point on Sunday. It should change how we live.
Yeah.
And if you actually believe that, then it's going to make changes in your life, and those changes are worth it.
For sure. I mean, that's exactly what happens with Peter, is that he makes this confession, and there's not this like celebration yeehaw moment. Jesus immediately goes, don't tell anybody this. And then he goes and says, the Son of Man must suffer and die and be raised in 3 days. Like, there's a shift where Peter makes this confession, and with that confession comes thousands of years of expectation of what the Messiah was going to be like. And Peter's carrying that in, and Jesus almost instantly corrects his expectations and says, this is not what you think it is. I'm going to die. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to suffer at the hands of the chief priests and the elders. I'll be raised again, but all these things must happen. And Peter takes offense at that. Like, he pulls Jesus aside and says, nope, not happening. God forbid it, is the language that Matthew tells us that Peter used. This won't happen. And it's from there that Jesus rebukes Peter in a stern but loving way, I have to imagine. But then that's also where he calls the crowds over and says, if anyone wants to follow after me, they have to take up their cross.
I agree with that. And I would say, I think it feels like in my life, Jesus is always coming in different ways, and sometimes in unexpected ways. He calls me to unexpected things, or he challenges me in unexpected ways. There's times where I'm praying, I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that was something in my life that I needed to be challenged on. And I love the idea that this life, the things we love in this life and the things that we think we need in this life are worthy and worth laying down at his feet.
Yeah, right.
And I think that is something we should really lean into and think about.
Yeah, I mean, the call for them was, a literal call to lay down their life. I mean, only one of the disciples was not martyred, and John was martyred over a long period of time. He was exiled to Patmos, and so he died in exile. This was a serious, literal call for them. And I said on Sunday, thankfully we don't experience that level of threat, but it is also a literal call to us if we ever were in that situation. Jesus is not mincing his words here. This was a real thing. But I wonder if sometimes because of that, because we only look at, well, this is a call for them to actually lay down their life, we miss the fullness of what it means to lay down our life. Laying down our life is not just about physically dying. It's about, in a certain sense, it's about metaphorically dying to ourselves, literally. It is saying my desires, my comfort, my preferences, the way I thought my life should or would go, if Jesus calls me beyond that, I have to be willing to lay it down and say, no, what you have is better. And so the call to lay down our life and to pick up our cross is a call to surrender and to trust that what Jesus calls us into is better than what he calls us out of. And that's hard at times, but I think I could say, and I think you would say, over and over, we've seen that what Jesus calls us into is better than what we could create for ourselves.
100%. And a lot of times it'll be like, how could this be better? Like, how am I going to even be able to do this? And what I love about what we're walking into out of that sermon last week and walking into this week is Jesus showed us.
Yeah.
He laid down his life. Now he did it literally, but also put us first and put God, his Father first.
Yeah.
So we're heading into Holy Week. We're heading into Palm Sunday, an important day on the Christian calendar.
Yep.
Could you talk just a little bit about what we've got this Sunday?
Yeah, for sure. So this coming week is Holy Week. So we're entering into the most important week in Jesus's earthly life, his earthly ministry. 35% of the Gospels focus on this 1 week in Jesus' life. Jesus probably lived to be somewhere between 32 and 33 years old. The Gospels pretty much skip over the first 30 years of his life, other than just his birth narrative and maybe a story or two. So then you have those 3 years, and 35% of that is spent on this week. So this is a huge week. It's the most pivotal week in human history. And so what we're going to do on Sunday is we're going to watch how Jesus enters into the city, enters into Jerusalem. We're going to watch how he's totally in control of what's happening. For a guy who last week was telling the disciples, don't tell anybody, when he comes into Jerusalem, he's saying, I've arrived. Tell people, the king is here. But what type of king Jesus is just so different than what they expected. And that's ultimately why by the end of the week, the crowds turn on him. On Sunday, they're stretching their cloaks out into the street and saying, hey, welcome the king who comes in the name of the Lord. By Friday, they're chanting, crucify him. How'd that happen? Well, we're going to talk about it Sunday and how Jesus really does show us what it means to lay down our life, and how he shows us on Easter Sunday how to pick up something better. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it'll be really good. So we kick off with that extravaganza immediately following church for families. Easter egg hunt should be a really good time. Then Friday, we have the Good Friday service.
Yep.
Is that at
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Yep.
6 o'clock Good Friday service. Very relaxed, low key, a good way just
try to be outside. But right now the forecast looks like it's like a 50% chance of rain. So we'll try to be outside, but if not, we'll be inside.
Yeah, we'll adjust, and just a good way to readjust, to remember what we're here for, and the week and the weekend that's about to happen, and then 2 services on Easter Sunday.
Yep, that's right, 9 and 10:30 on Easter Sunday. So invite some folks, bring some friends with you. I'm expecting and excited about having a really joyful day that Sunday, and so I'm excited to see what God does with it.
Yeah, it'll be great. Come get some donuts on Sunday.
Come get some donuts. Come get some donuts. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in this week. We hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and we will see you next week right back here on the Table Talk podcast. Have a good one.